Welcome. Today in the new video we are going to talk today about the Huangdineijing. We're going to talk about some topics in the Huangdineijing on the basis of some of the subjects that I have been translating from several books and their commentaries or their interpretation or their subdivision in headings on the Huangdineijing from Chinese resources. And when I am going to read to you from this, I'm also going to tell you a little bit what I think that it actually means. The reason why I do this is because within our study of Chinese medicine, it is very important that you have a good idea where the ideas come from. You can't trust any Western sources because they very often they have a only shallow interpretation of the historical text, and also the Chinese sources, they are very often redirected, or they only in the form of a citation, and then they basically tell whatever they want. The idea, of course, when you study Chinese medicine, is the Huangdineijing is king. That means that the Huangdineijing is basically the root of your thinking. Then second of that, there is the neidan and the weidan practice to confirm whatever it says in the Huangdineijing. So the theoretical framework outlined there is also the foundation for a lot of things in Taoism. So when you are practicing neidan practice or weidan practice, in both cases you basically follow the theoretical framework that the Huangdineijing already provided for you. Why is this kind of things important? Well, for the simple reason, if you want to become a Chinese medicine practitioner, you want to become a technician, or you want to become a doctor, one of the two. At the moment when you want to become a doctor, you will have to do some serious study. And you have to count on the fact that you basically spend a large part of your life on studying, not reading how to do a particular kind of procedure, but trying to understand what things mean. That means you have to understand something about the worldview where Chinese medicine comes from, and not just the chemical, electrical, physical, whatever kind of things, interpretation that modern science tries to make out of it. There are amazing works being written. There's a lot of beautiful science being done on Chinese medicine, although I don't believe in the fact that they can be translated into each other. I do believe that Chinese medicine is a criticism of Western medicine, and I believe that Western medicine is a criticism of Chinese medicine. That means that Western medicine cannot really understand what Chinese medicine wants, and Chinese medicine cannot really understand what Western medicine wants. So that difference in worldview and goals of the medicine is very important. Western medicine wants, well, in the present, of course, be an industry that is self-serving, and the client is basically a product, and the product is a diseased product, and if it isn't diseased, we have to make sure that it thinks it has a disease so that we can treat it, so that the industry can keep going. You have to understand modern medical science, modern medical institutions and insurance, they maintain a complex of actions which produce radioactive pollution, they produce chemical pollution, they poison people with chemicals, which in some cases do help, but in other cases give a lot of side effects. And these side effects, of course, are dangerous. They are also helping people. So it is not just the fact that people are negatively impacted by it. The world in itself has become a better place because of modern medical science. But there are areas where modern medical science doesn't really have a solution, and then as a result that they try to, well, improvise, and this is how the industry came about. For Chinese medicine, the same risk is there. In current Chinese medicine, everybody is following the Western medicine model, so everything gets fragmented and gets put into small pieces. And as a result of that, Chinese medicine is basically a copy from Western medicine. They also try to explain themselves on the basis of what Western medicine science actually says that things should mean, because of course they are the only real God. And as a result of that, Chinese medicine is losing its own quality. And this quality is why study of the Huangdineijing and its meanings is very important, and therefore also studying Chinese medicine within that context and the practices that Chinese medicine doctors, mostly Taoists and sometimes Buddhists and sometimes Neo-Confucians or Confucians, they were practicing these kind of things for the same reason that they wanted to also understand how to understand themselves, how to improve themselves, how to become an immortal, and then their client was a way to help them understand how they could become an immortal, but also to understand the issue of being human, namely that the nature of reality is not very harmonious and there is a lot of suffering going on. So how do you relieve that suffering? And Chinese medicine, to a large part, is a spiritual practice when done in the right way. What we do with the IOC Daoland program, in the study is actually trying to follow these principles, and we try to develop an understanding by understanding ourselves, and as a result of that, also being able to understand what people go through in their disease, and therefore find a valid solution for the problems that they face, and hopefully actually also curing them. That means that at that moment we would not be necessary anymore. So there's the idea that people become independent in relationship to their health, and this is what we want to do. So let's get on with it, and let's start talking a little bit Huangdineijing. The first chapter I'm going to talk about, there's 4 chapters I've translated so far, and I'm going to talk about the first chapter. These are different sequences within the ideas of the Huangdineijing. The first chapter is named Ancient Innocence. This article mainly discusses the health-preserving methods of the ancients, the growth cycles of men and women, and introduces the health-preserving methods of true men, sages, saints, and wise men, emphasizing that health preservation requires being good at conforming to the laws of nature. That means that medicine is not something that you just build up and create from nothing, but it means that you have to understand what is called the Tao. The Tao is the way how things come to be and the context that they fit into. So that means that our lives are a combination of that what is natural and the context that we live in. So nothing can be cured without putting things into the proper context. And like for instance in the case of addiction, it is good to take people out of their addictive environment and to put them in another environment which is more natural, because the addictive environment is not their natural environment. It is where they got stuck. Yeah, so it's the same with diseases. When you go to a hospital, you are there for a long time, or you go to a care home or something like that, you're stuck in there, and there's a particular kind of way of managing you which is not necessarily beneficial for your personal growth or development towards health. Health in Chinese medicine means not being able to die. That means that you're going to be an immortal, and that is a job that you are going to perform the rest of your life at the moment when you practice Chinese medicine, or if you start applying Chinese medicine principles to your daily life. And that is the whole project of the Daoland program, is to make sure that the general worldview of people is based on the idea that immortality maybe will never be achieved, but you have to aim for immortality to be able to resolve your health issues, and therefore we are building tools to do so. And this is what we are going to try to promote further on and on and on, by means of, among other things, reading to you from these chapters and explaining what that actually means. So let's first talk about the Yellow Emperor. The Yellow Emperor was one of the founding fathers of the Chinese culture. He was a warrior, that was clear, was a king, and he is also known as a ruler for about military and so on. But he was a very intelligent child when he was born, and not like in the Buddha that he was getting up from the womb of his mother and immediately started talking, not like Lao Tzu also, but he was good at talking when he was a child. That means that he was clearly very smart, and he knew how to understand things when he was a teenager also, and when he grew up he was honest, diligent, and eventually he became then the emperor of the Chinese people. The first thing that we're going to talk about therefore is when he discovered that there was a secret in medicine, namely that the secret to medicine and to healing and health and curing is actually the secret of longevity. At the moment when you do not have an understanding of longevity, you cannot become whole, you cannot become healed. I know that a lot of people in later times, they try to translate that to spiritual longevity, but it is actually meant to be being part of nature, not being part of a mental reality, like in Buddhism, for instance. The immortality there as a Buddha is something that's basically out of time and out of space. But it's not the same like out of time and out of space as the Wuji is in Taoism. The Wuji state is that what precedes everything, and the immortals, these are basically what they become over time. And all the different kind of creatures in nature, they all have in their own tribal sense, they have sometimes individuals who are they're transcending the limitations of their species, and as a result that look for immortality. Fox spirits is a nice example. They are not necessarily appreciated by the people. Snake spirits also, they're not necessarily appreciated, but these are, for instance, Kuan Yin, they are Dao Mo, they are Ma Tu, they're all snake spirits before. And Some others, they were badgers, they were foxes, they were all kind of animals. So let's not be crazy about these things. If an animal can become a god and an immortal, then why would people not be? So that's basically the message that immortals leave for people. And for my personal purpose, of course, I'm a follower, a disciple of Zhang Zhangfen, and Zhang Zhangfen was a disciple of Lu Dongpin. Lu Dongpin was a disciple of blah, 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 blah. So there's a long story going there before, and Zhang Zhangfen is seen as the last great alchemist, the last great neidan practitioner who was actually practicing all the aspects of Chinese medicine and neidan. And this is also what we try to accomplish through our program. So Huangdi asked Qibo, his mentor in medicine, I heard that people in ancient times lived to be 100 years old and they were still flexible and showed no signs of aging. But people nowadays show signs of aging as soon as they reach the age of 50. Is it because of the passage of time that people nowadays have lost in the health preserving methods of the ancient? And then Qibo said people in ancient times knew how to keep healthy and could adapt to and coordinate their own yin and yang changes according to the principles of the changes of yin and yang in heaven and earth. They would eat in moderation, have regular work and rest, did not overwork so they could make the body and Shen awareness harmonious and unified, live to the end of the natural lifespan and die after they passed 100 years old. But people nowadays are not like this. They drink alcohol as if it were water and make up normal life and normal habits. They still have sex when they are drunk, indulge in lust, and exhaust their jing and dissipate their true qi. They do not understand the importance of staying energetic and constantly work hard to hurt their lungs, which violates the true value of life. Their daily life is irregular, so they age when they are just half a century old. The meaning of these kind of passages is simply that we have to have a clear understanding of the nature of our life. At the moment when we exhaust ourselves, like Arbeit macht frei, or when we are indulging in a lot of sexual activities, or we go do very intense exercise in sports, or we go running every day until we sweat. Anything that is costing us a real effort, yes, sure, your body grows as a result of that, but in reality, it is also at the same time causing you to die prematurely. All the things we do, eat too much, sleep too much, do things too much, or do things too little, eat too little, and so forth and so forth. Everything like that is basically the cause of problems. Zhang Zhangfen actually explained on the basis of the Huangdineijing that a life in moderation is a life born for immortality. That means that, for instance, this amount of food is enough for a whole day, but you need to be properly trained to do so. If you are not properly trained, you will not be able to live in the proper healthy way. So that means that you gradually have to adapt yourself, and this is why things like exercise, eating, meditation, practicing medicine and so on, these are all part of what is called self-cultivation. So the Huangdineijing is basically a book about self-cultivation. It is not so much about treating diseases, but it is about developing health and moving away from the risk of getting a disease. That doesn't mean that you can't get a flu, that doesn't mean that you can't get a cold. It just means that you know when it happens to you, you know what to do about it so that it doesn't become chronic. As a result of that, you can live your own natural lifespan. There are different ideas in this chapter about the natural lifespan, and you will see that when we talk about that later on. I have done other videos where I talk about the same thing, because I think this is one of the most fascinating things. And it is actually the part that most people in Chinese medicine, they skip because they say like, oh, that's unbelievable. But in reality, this is what it is all about. In ancient times, saints always taught ordinary people to avoid all factors in nature that may cause illness, keep a clear mind and few desires, so that the true qi can flow normally in the body and the shen can be kept inside without being consumed. In this way, where can the disease come from? Therefore, in ancient times, people were indifferent to fame and wealth, with an open mind and no fear. Even if you work regularly, your body will not feel tired. Your vital qi will flow smoothly and peacefully, and everybody can get what they want. First of all, Let me tell you, there are 3 concepts that I already mentioned, which I didn't properly explain so far. That is Jing, Qi, and Shen. And these 3 concepts you have to understand, because these are the foundation of the experience of things in your body. When we talk about Jing, we very often talk about 2 different kinds of Jing. We have talk about the Yin Jing, which is basically the substances of your body, and the Yang Jing, that's the activity of the body. So at the moment when you are developing the Jing, basically through exercise you learn to open up your body to create a maximized inner space, so that all your organs have the right kind of space, your channels can be optimized, your blood can be optimized, so the flow and the exchange of all kinds of things in your body is working really very good. This is what is the first cause. So at the moment when you are becoming too tight because of exercising too hard, your joints start collapsing a little bit on each other, your cartilage gets wasted, you are too passive, and as a result of that everything hangs on each other because there's no real coherence in things, your muscles become slack, and so forth and so forth. All these kind of things, they make that the circulation in your body becomes less, and when you start making medication that actually thins your blood or pushes your blood or whatever kind of things that happens, then at that moment you're actually damaging your body more and more, and as a result of that you are laying the causes of your own chronic diseases, whether it's diabetes, Alzheimer, Parkinson, or any other kind of disease that is going to end eventually in problems. Then this is starting with that anyway. Then the second concept is Qi, of course. Qi, everybody always talks about Qi, and they translate it as energy. Jing, they translate very often as essence, but they don't really explain what that essence means. So now I've explained to you what it actually means. So the second one, the Qi, comes in a lot of different kind of variations. So energy, no, not a good translation, because there are many different kind of Qis. There's Qis of the organs, there's Qis of the muscles, of the bones, of your breathing, of your the digestion, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about true Qi or Chun Qi, then at that moment we talk about the merging of the postnatal creation of vital substances from the Jing of your food and your drinks. So if an animal is, not a healthy animal and you eat it, then at that moment the Jing is not good. So as a result of that you eat the bad Jing. That is also why they let you eat young cows, young pigs, and young whatever kind of animals, because at the moment when they are full grown, the chances that the way how they were raised, that they're going to develop diseases like cancer and so on is pretty large. And then you're going to eat these kind of things, because if something has cancer, it is already in the whole body. So the cancer in that sense, even though it has qualities of being an infection or wild growth of your body, it is basically an overheating of your system, and it is already starting to rot, you can say. So it's a little bit like a fungi kind of thing. At the moment when you have a cancer in one place, it actually starts expanding more and more, and by learning to reduce the effectiveness of the growth of your body in a negative sense by correcting your lifestyle as a whole, you could slow down the growth of cancer. I'm not sure if you can really stop it. I always do hope, but I probably first have to get cancer myself to be able to understand that, and I hope that will never happen, because it is better to prevent something than to get something. Solving problems is always a negative in Chinese medicine. It is better to start working on your health to prevent that you have a negative aging than to actually have to resolve the problems of negative aging. That also means for any kind of disease. At the moment when you catch a disease, that means it's a complication. And if you don't understand much about your body, how can you come back to the model that you're actually supposed to be? Like in my case, I was as a child very sick. Fortunately, as a child, still in my growth, I learned a lot of different kind of things. So I picked it up in the growing process, which is in itself a natural process. And as a result of that, I could build on that my whole life. And that is already a lot of work, because I was expected to die at 40, and now I am over 60. I can say that. Still tastes bad in my mouth because I still feel like 11. In the process of such, I have learned to undo a lot of different kind of damaging things. There's also a lot of things that I missed because just I didn't have the time. Work, family, traveling, all kinds of things that we do, and all the addictions that we go through, they make that we actually skip particular parts and think like, oh, we do it later, but then something new already comes, because your body is always in a cascade in a positive sense or in a negative sense. So when you do a lot of good things for yourself, your body gradually, when it overcomes the inertia of your decay, then gradually it becomes better. And at the moment when you are overcoming the inertia of your goodness, then at that moment you gradually become worse and you become sick. And then the third concept that we need to talk about is the shun. The shun is very often translated as spirit. And spirit is something that is specifically for Christians and Islam, because the spirit is that what is from God in you. You are not your spirit, you are just your body. And at the moment when God is in you, that actually inspires you and gives you esprit, inspiration, and that as a result of that makes you alive and makes you a human, a child of God, so to say. That's in Christianity and Islam. But in traditional Chinese culture, in authentic Chinese cultures, and like in many other cultures, there was no such concept. There were concepts of gods, but not in the same way. They were not sharing their body with you, which, by the way, is the success of Falun Gong, because this Falun Gong master, Li Hongzhi, he actually shares part of himself in every new member. So basically, he vampirizes on everybody and makes sure that they all are connected to him to make sure that, he feeds on you. This is basically the theoretical framework. It is not done for the first time by him and many other teachers. Also in Western esoterics, they have been doing this. You just have to look a little bit in history to understand how that works. I'm not a big fan, as you understand. No matter, there are people who are involved in that do good things. So I don't want to say that on the whole it is a bad thing, but the original idea of it, the way how it came about and what it's trying to do, I am not a big fan. So even if something is evil, there will eventually also good come from it. That is also a daoist principle. So it doesn't really matter if somebody is good or somebody is evil, but it might not be your thing, right? So like what I am saying, it might not be your thing, but if it is, great. Because that means that you really have a flair for the authentic, and that is good. Going further with that, it says everything they eat tastes delicious and everything they wear makes them feel comfortable. Because of this, everyone is content with the status quo and never envy each other's status. Such people can be called simple and unpretentious. This is something that you also find in the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching talks about, in the last chapter, it talks about the fact that in the past people were living in small communities. They could hear their neighbors in other villages on the horizon, but they would never go there. There was no need because everything was fine in the village. There were no weapons, there were only agricultural tools, and that's basically how they were living. As a result of that, they were not jealous, they were not dissatisfied about things, and as a result of that, they feel good. It's basically what we learn also in yoga, and what we learn in Kung Fu fitness, and so on. We try to learn to make our body feel comfortable about things, because then all kind of things, they become much better to appreciate. Little food, if you are suffering, then a little food is going to make you suffer more. But at the moment when you are actually functioning properly, a little food actually helps you to flourish. And at the moment when you are wearing coarse clothes, then actually, it is part of your sensuality, and that is part of how you basically manifest as a living being. Animals, they can enjoy the sunshine. We can also enjoy the sunshine. It's for free, it's easy, and so on and so on. So at the moment when we feel good, every moment is a little bit like that. The rain is enjoyable too, after all. As a result of that, we create a status quo in all kinds of things, and as a result of the status quo, actually we see that the unchangeability of things is a little bit like heaven and a little bit like earth. There are some minor changes, but these minor changes, they are, relatively continuous in regard to us. We see a tree grow very slowly. We see ourselves grow very slowly. We see our personal development going very slowly. We see mountains change. We don't even see them change, but we know they change. So over time, things are different. Forests relocate to other places as a result of all kinds of factors. So, such people can be simple and unpretentious. Bad habits cannot influence their vision and hearing, and any obscene thoughts and evil teachings cannot shake their will, confuse their mind. So, I guess at the moment when we are all going to be perfect beings like that, there will not be any reason to watch any scary movies. No zombie movies. Whether they are stupid, smart, capable or incapable, they will not worry about things outside of their bodies. So their words and deeds are in line with the way of health preservation. That means that for the purpose of health, you being body is the cause of your health. And at the moment when you can identify with your body and you can see that the well-being of your body is your well-being, then at that moment the desire for having a nice car or having nice clothing or having superfoods or something like this, all these kind of things disappear. The simplicity also says this is the reason why people are healthy. And at the moment when they look for exclusivity, like you see a lot of people's and social media influencers, they are saying they are a yoga teacher, and then they come there with a beautiful car, beautiful expensive clothing, they sell you something, things for on your skin and so on. They don't really give you a improvement on your health per se, because they drag you into your emotional bias, and this emotional bias in fact is what is going to eventually cause you to have health problems. So then your yoga in itself is more something to self-gratify than actually to heal you and to make you better. I see the same thing happening in Tai Chi Chuan, because you know it is a business. For many people it's just a business, and at the moment when something becomes a business, you have something to gain by selling something. Your meaning, your message is not that important anymore. Of course, with this video there will probably be advertisement and so on, and that is just part of the medium that we use for the spread of this information. But I don't get paid. I do this for free. I do this because I believe in this project, and I do think that as a result of this my health will be better, and hopefully you pick up something on it and your health will become better too. By the way, I have to check my time a bit. We are now getting to the end of the time for the video. Everything they eat, taste, listen, everything we already had this. So the reason why they can live to 100 years old without looking old is that they have understood and mastered the method of cultivating their mind and their nature. That means our nature is to be healthy. Our nature is to become an immortal, and our mind is serving that nature. It is not that they are co-equal branches. It's not that the mind is over matter or something like this. No, your nature is basically that what you share with everybody. So in that sense, communism is not such a strange idea. Communalism also not such a strange idea, because this is the way how nature works. People live in communities. Our communities in our cities and so on, that include of course the men, the women, the children, the grandparents, the parents, but also the dogs, the cats, the birds, the mice, the lice, the fleas, and all the other creatures that are walking around and creeping and flying, including the mosquitoes. They all have their own communities, and they all serve their particular kind of purpose. You might not like them, but they are part of your society. They are members, and they should be respected in their own way. So how you actually treat them is very important. Huangdi said, when people get old, they can no longer have children. Is it because their vital chi is exhausted, or is it because they have to follow the laws of nature? Chibo said, generally speaking, a woman has a growth cycle of 7 years. When a woman is 7 years, actually I should, yeah. I'm actually curious about what you think about topics like this. Are you interested in listening to these kind of things? I think they are very important, and I hope that you also find them very important, that they have a benefit for you. If you want to think about it, if you want to ask questions, please reach out to me and make sure that you do so. If you want to become part of our exercising community, however small it is, we do everything online. People can become they can learn something in concentrated courses, or they can become an instructor and start serving their community. They can, at the same time, they can start working on becoming a Yangshan master. That means that they really learn how to make programs with people, how to treat their health. We're currently busy in a program to set up this worldview, like the things that we talk about now. And the second part that we're going to talk about later on in a new video is about the different age groups and so on. And these kind of things are all going to be part of the module that we're going to build for this. We have already presented videos on these age cycles, and we have already given a lot of ideas, but we're going to work it out further and further to make sure that, say, within a year, this is a fully fledged worldview-based healthcare that we can experiment with. You can experiment with, I can experiment with. We can research how the things work, and we can research how that effect would be. It's the first time that somebody tries to build a holist healthcare. My, I cannot say staff, my partners in this are also all students of the bachelor program. So if you become a student of the bachelor program because you're interested in Chinese medicine, you are going to be part of the making and the developing and the growing and the globalization of this program also. Globalization, if it is about health, it's great. Globalization, if it is about exploiting nature, no, not so great. So try to become activist in your attitudes towards your health, and try to understand what your role can be in your environment to improve your health by also supporting the health of your environment. I am thankful for the fact that you have been looking at this. As a Taoist, I think it is my duty by oath to try to give you an honest reflection. I think about these things every day, I work about these things every day, and I try to make sure you get the information as it is meant in the past. I make errors, so don't think I have a perfect view or anything like that. I'm not a guru. I don't make any pretensions about that. People call me all kind of things, from idiot to master. I don't really care about all these titles. I just do the task that I am assigned to do by my own teacher. Thank you very much.